And my pleasure to introduce our speakers on that panel. Dr. Sam Addy, who will moderate the panel, joined the Center for Business and Economic Research, or CBER, in 1998 and assumed its directorship in 2007. Dr. Addy works with CBER in economic research and has conducted impact studies for entities around the country, published in economic and academic journals around the country, around the world, and in international media. He is a native of the West African country of Ghana, and if amongst you there's maybe one or two, I guess it's possible, soccer fans out there that follow the U.S. men's national team, you know how painful it is to talk about Ghana, as they have ejected us from the last 2 World Cups. But we're not going to let that stand in the way today. Dr. Addy attained his first degree there in Ghana. He has since studied in the United States, where he received an MS in mineral engineering at the University of Minnesota, PhD in mineral economics from Pennsylvania State University. He has been a U.S. citizen since 2007, so I trust that he roots for the U.S. team when they're not playing Ghana. Is married and has 3 children. So help me welcome Dr. Addy. Wiley Lott. Wiley Lott's a member of the economic development team at Alabama Power Company. He helps recruit companies to Alabama and assists companies exiting, or existing companies, with their expansion strategies here. He partners with communities on the development of new sites and has more than 24 years of experience doing this. He began his career in this field with Walmart, where he helped develop approximately 100 million square feet of distribution space, which led to the creation of over 100,000 jobs and billions of dollars in investment. He also serves on the Board of Trustees for the Alabama Center for Real Estate. Help me welcome Wiley Lott. Rick Davis. Rick Davis is the director of Cummings Research Park, the 2nd largest research park in the United States, a shining spot in the office and industrial markets in Alabama, somewhere where we frequently see construction and commercial real estate opportunities. Happy to have him today here. Rick has spent more than 29 years in mass media. And he is active with the Research Park and the Chamber of Commerce in Huntsville and Madison County and the city of Huntsville. He has done lots of work in sportcasting, radio, television, sports writing, business writing, and print media, and is a graduate of the University of Tennessee with a BS in communications, and has earned an economic development certification from Georgia Tech. Help me welcome Rick Davis. Troy Wayman is a graduate of Faulkner University of Montgomery, Alabama, and the Economic Development Institute of the University of Oklahoma. He became a certified economic developer and accepted the position of Vice President of Economic Development with the Mobile Area Chamber of Commerce in January 2009. He is immediate past president of the Economic Development Association of Alabama, and we're happy to have him here today. Help me welcome Troy Wayman. Patrick Murphy, Jr. is Senior Vice President of Economic Development for the Birmingham Business Alliance, responsible for all the development, recruiting, business retention, and expansion service activities of that group. He also oversees targeted marketing of the Birmingham region to the whole world. A graduate of Auburn with a BS in finance. Help me welcome Patrick Murphy, Jr. Connie Bainbridge. Connie serves as Manager of Economic Development for Central Alabama Electric Cooperative. She served on the boards of the Chambers of Commerce of Alabama, the Economic Development Association of Alabama, Southern Economic Development Council. She's had over 19 years of experience in chamber management positions, a graduate of Oklahoma Economic Development Institute, and a graduate of the Georgia Institute of Organizational Management. Help me welcome Connie Bainbridge, and thanks to all of you for participating in the panel.
Well, it's a pleasure to be with you, and since you're getting CE credits, I just want you to know, coming from a university, there'll be an exam. And the questions will be coming without any teaching. Just kidding. As Jack said, I have the pleasure of having one foot in one country that loses a match, a soccer match, and another foot in one that wins. So I'm always a winner and a loser. I do have a bad habit, though, and my colleagues have always begged me to stop doing this. But I think that when people are nice to me, God blesses them. They just confirm it. Do you agree too?
Yes.
You agree? Good. Because my cut of your blessings is $5. So I'll be coming for that $5, all right? We have today some good news, and Jack started it off. Typically, for us as individuals within the economy, within the country, we respond when we feel, not when we see so much. If I tell you that, oh, it's hot, you might look at the temperature, the thermometer, and say, well, yeah, it's getting hot. But you don't move until you feel it hot, right? Yeah. And the same thing happens with our response to the economy, too. Actually, last year was not as bad as, the news media might make you think. It wasn't bad at all. In fact, it did better than we expected, not only for our country, not only for our state, but for the world economy as a whole. And I'll be talking about Alabama's economic outlook, but I have to start from the globe because we are not alone. Last year, after the 2009 dip, the world economy did much better than most forecasters expected. And when in the center, when we look at the world economy, we use ranges because reliability of information is not the same. When China says it grew so much, it's not the same as us saying we grew 3%, because you still have questions on the quality of their information, and that happens. But basically, the world economy grew 4 to 5% in that range, and we think it will do well again this year. So this context is a good context. Actually, the U.S. will do even better. Now, emerging economies are the rest of the world. What we call advanced economies are us, Europe, Canada, Australia, Hong Kong, Singapore, Taiwan, the advanced New Zealand. These economies are advanced. Everybody else we call an emerging economy. Those economies are starting from a small base, so you expect them to grow fast. So you don't just look at the rate of growth, but also the actual magnitude of growth. If you read the papers and listen to the news, you would be scared of China, right? Everybody's pointing the fingers at China. China is going to overtake us. I would like to use a very polite term, hogwash. China's economy is about 40% of ours. Okay? If you look at the world economy, look at ranking of GDP by countries, we are top dog. China is number 2, yes. Now, if you look at it at using GDP per capita, we are the 9th. China is 95th. So we really don't have much to fear. Unless we are using China to motivate ourselves, I don't see any reason to look at China, all right? When we grow 3%, China has to grow 8% for it to be the same amount of growth. So that's the context there. We will grow faster than the advanced economies in general this year. And I'll show that in a second. Employment is beginning to improve globally too. So that's good. We have trade growing. Inflation is not a problem. It's only a problem in Asia where they are at maximum productivity in terms of their plants. So when you are constrained by your factors of production, you can have inflation. And we don't have that. Most of the advanced economies have spare production capacity. So we know inflation is not a problem. In fact, 72% of what is counted in the CPI, okay, that we use as one of the inflation gauges, 72% of those prices fell last year. Maximum, any of those in that category grew about 1 to 1.5%. Max for that 72%. Food and energy, yes, and a few new items. Those new items, typically, the trend is their prices will fall over time as well, as we get better at improving, at producing them. 2010, we had a 2.9% GDP growth, really good. It didn't come with much on employment. Actually, we had a dip in employment. In the private sector, we actually saw about 1 million jobs added. But because of the census and because of the pain that states and local governments are going through, we lost some jobs. This year is going to be much better, partly because of the sugar fix we got at the end of the year in December. But getting that sugar fix also means we have to make some hard decisions going forward. So this year we are looking at a 3.2% growth, about the same for consumption. Housing would be basically flat, but I think some of us are getting tired of housing our in-laws and all of that. So we think we'll be pushing them out is one. But the good news is there will be about 2 million jobs added this year in the nation. So that will set us up for a really good housing market next year. You get a nice number of jobs with the income that comes in, our tiredness of being cramped in our houses and not feeling free, and you'll get a good housing market next year, is what we are expecting. In 2012, we'll have slightly less GDP growth, but even better employment growth. So for me as an economist, I would take that combination any day. The federal government spending will be falling. It has to fall. We've juiced up. We did the help and the injection during the really sick years of the recession, and now we are stepping away from the precipice. I would like to say we are not out of the woods yet, though, so we have to be careful of how we treat the patient. The patient is out of ICU, but is still in the hospital. We do have trade increasing, as I said. For Alabama, however, you can see that the pickup in automotive production will be really good. One of our companies actually stole market share greatly, Hyundai. All our other producers have increased production dramatically and are exporting a lot again. And so that's good for us. So that's from the U.S. perspective. But as I said, the recession is over. It is over for real. All the macroeconomic indicators are looking up, so we have no worries there. But this one was worse than any. It was the longest, and yes, we've stepped away from the precipice, but we are not out of the woods. As far as employment goes, we think we have another 4 years to go just to be able to get back to where we were in 2007.